Hey folks, welcome. Christine Weber here. I love to support mature yoga teachers and getting their wisdom out there to the world. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about breathing in asana practice. Show you two different ways you can work with three-part breath. But first I want to tell you a little story, which is how breathing. Oops, it looks like I'm having a little bit of a glitch there on the internet. Thank you for being here. If I'm having a glitch, let me know. Anyway, so the student said, who was a teacher? She came from the class. She was like, "You teacher, really screwed up breathing." And I was like, I know I teach really screwed up breathing, but give it a try. So there are different ways to teach breathing, and there's not one right way. And every time I hear people do yogic breathing or do belly breathing because it's yoga, I'm always like, ugh, because it totally depends on what you're trying to do. And the more, just like with movement, the more different ways we have to breathe, the more we know how to apply and we understand the more freedom we have with the practice. So please, get rid of that idea that there is a yogic breath. It's just, it's not even accurate. So now three-part breath is typically, it's Dirga Pranayama, it's often called. Three-part breath is typically taught, breathe belly, solar plexus, chest, or maybe 360 belly, low 360, like below the navel, mid abdomen, and then chest. Like you'll hear that very often. And it's lovely. That's sort of the traditional, I don't even know, it's like more in the United States way of breathing. So that kind of three-part breath, people will say like fill up your breath from the bottom to the top, but we should be really careful with that because it's 6 years, and I watched people die, and I watched how the breathing stops right here. So that's where the breathing begins. That's where it ends. And then as we start to gain control, and by the way, if you're breathing into your belly, you're in an ambulance hospital because you can't breathe into your belly, and you should never breathe into your belly. If you are accessing abdominal muscles, that can be good because those are secondary musculature of mostly of exhalation, right? So another way to do three-part breath is what I learned from my Vini yoga teachers and what I call structural breath. So people ask me, how do you teach three-part breath? I like the kind of classical, release your belly on the inhale and then middle and then up to the chest. I like that. I don't even want to call it classical, but I like that kind of popular way of for anxiety, and it's really good for seated practice, and it's lovely for pranayama. Not great for asana. And the reason it's not great for asana is it's not very supportive to the structures of the spine. It's not very supportive. A big tilt in anterior tilt in the pelvis, for example. It's just not that great for supporting the low back, for creating core strength. It's not great for that. Structural breath is great for that. It's very good for creating core strength. It's also very good for teaching you how to gain better control over the secondary musculature of respiration, which then helps you to have better control over the diaphragm, which then helps you to have better control over the autonomic nervous system, which then helps you to have more agency, psychological flexibility, mental health. That's the functional purpose, from my perspective, of teaching. How do you do it? Let me give you a couple examples. So let's start with a forward bend. And so we'll start with an exhale. And when you start with a forward bend using structural breath, you're going to exhale from pelvic floor above the pubic bone, solar plexus. plexus as you go into the forward bend. So it's a smooth exhale. And then, don't worry so much about your inhale, but just lengthen the spine when you come up. So try it with me a couple times. So you're going to inhale, and then on the exhale, feel pelvic floor engagement, pubic bone, navel, solar plexus, soften the knees, and use your legs to help press the breath out, let go of your head, and then as you inhale, lead with your chest and face and come back up. So you're leaning back up. Okay, let's try that again. So breathe in, and as you exhale, start engaging pubic bone, navel, solar plexus. Use your legs to help you release the breath out, and then lengthen as you come back up. So that's just a kind of a sample, and there's so many ways, so many different ways to apply structural breath in asanas. I mean, this is sort of very core to what I teach, and it's also core to the core. It's very for core strength. It's very helpful for core awareness and core agency, like having more control over the musculature. Okay, so that's an exhale. Now let's talk about what an inhale might look like. And one way, an easy way to kind of sample into that is arms up and down. So what do you hear in yoga classes all the time? Inhale your arms up and exhale your arms down. But what you don't hear are the specifics of getting into the structures of breathing so that you start to gain more control over the diaphragm, the secondary musculature, mostly the secondary musculature of respiration, then better control over the autonomic nervous system, which gives you more agency in terms of mental health and psychological flexibility. I'll keep saying that because repetition is how we learn. So arms by your sides. So now you're going to remember that it's a gas and it's coming into the lung, right? And then you can start to release your solar plexus and then the lower belly all the way to the pelvic floor as the arms go up, okay? So this time, take breath in, start with an exhale, engage your belly, keep it engaged because that helps the breath come out. Not 100%, like 20%. And as you inhale, start to rise, chest, solar plexus, belly and pelvic floor, and exhale, you can engage again the belly. Don't worry so much about the exhale here, just a slight 25% engagement of the belly, right? And you're thinking, yes, it's not water coming into my chest, and then my solar plexus, and then my belly pelvic floor, okay? So take a breath in, exhale, use your belly, and then as you inhale, arms come about a third of the way chest, 2/3 of the way solar plexus. Here's something very important to understand. It is extremely difficult, I would say, let me say impossible, to make a judgment about this way of breathing based on one experience. This kind of breath takes, I usually tell people take 10 classes, and then you'll start to, maybe. Personally, I was a little slow. It took me a couple of years to really start understanding what I just taught you in 5 minutes here. So, we can't TikTokify the teachings of yoga. They're too vast. I hope that this short practice is possible. And that the possibility for having greater control over the secondary musculature of breath gives us greater access to and control over the nervous system, which then agency, mental, emotional flexibility. That's what we're trying to get to with this. And it takes time, but it is so worth it. And because it will change your life, like I'm not talking about a toothpaste or a hair product or a face cream. I'm talking about real, actual transformation that we can do to ourselves. Improve your energy. I mean, it changes everything. So let me know what you think. I hope this is helpful. I'd love you to go, rewind, try it a couple of times, and let me know what else you want to talk about. That was came from a question last week, so let me know if you want other topics you want to talk about. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next week.